Okay, so hello and welcome. Let's build another trading bot with Python. What you are seeing here is the base infrastructure of the bot. So we are setting up a CSV file containing the coins we want to trade, the information if we are in a position, and the quantity we have bought if we have bought at all. The CSV file will always change when we are either buying or selling the asset. Our Python file reads in the CSV file, is doing the whole data pull via the Binance API and implements the trading logic. And then changes the CSV file in case of a buy or sell. The trading logic itself is pretty much straightforward. We are as long in the position as the fast SMA is above the slow SMA. So let's quickly open up Binance and understand the strategy, plus also check some situations in the past. Okay, so let's take a look at the strategy. What you're seeing here is the Bitcoin price chart, and the purple or magenta or whatever their name is line is the slow simple moving average, and this yellow line here is the fast simple moving average. So the fast simple moving average is a simple moving average over 5 time steps, and as you see here I'm on the 1 hour time frame. The slow simple moving average is a moving average over 75 time steps here, right? And as you see, over the last 3 days we are not invested because the fast SMA is below the slow SMA. Now let's take a look at how that would be in the past. That is no indication that this will work in the future, right? I just want to take a look at some trades here. So this is a good one. And no worries, I'm also going over bad trades here. But as you see, the last one would be a good trade because here the fast SMA is above the slow SMA, so we would enter the position somewhere here, right? And as you see now, the fast SMA is crossing below the slow SMA, so we would exit the position somewhere here. So that would be an actual profitable trade. Now let's hopefully find a bad example or a bad trade. So this trade would be slightly profitable, as you see here. So we would enter again because the yellow line is above the magenta line, and we would exit once the yellow line is crossing below the magenta line. So that would be a profitable trade as well. Now let's take a look at the not so profitable trade as you see here. So here we would enter somewhere here and would exit somewhere here. So we would have made some losses here, right? Here we are out of the Bitcoin a long time. And that would be a pretty nice trade again, right? So let's take a look at another asset, ETH, for instance. So as you see, we are out of ETH the last 3 days. That trade is quite a good one. But yeah, you know, ETH is very highly correlated to the Bitcoin. So we would see at least similar patterns here. So yeah, that trade here is a good one. Here's the lost trade or the not profitable trade. And yeah, here we are out of the ETH as well. Let's take another coin which is maybe not so highly correlated. So this is a pretty hyped coin, Mana. So you see we are out of Mana. And as you see here, we made a slight profit, close to a slight profit. But I think you got the point here, right? So that would be a good trade here. That would be that would be a bad trade, and so on, right? So I have videos on how you can backtest a strategy like that on multiple coins. I will link it in the video description. But I think you got the point. And yeah, this is what we are going to code. Okay, before we are starting, some additional comments and prerequisites. So this video is very similar to this one with some improvements and simplifications. Everything else you will need is linked in the video description. Important disclaimer, cryptocurrency and in specific automated trading is bearing a huge amount of risk and may result in a total loss of your invested capital. Cryptocurrencies are not regulated and the Python Binance API wrapper is not official. Even more important disclaimer, I'm only providing you ideas and show you the technical implementation. You need to do your own research, assess and manage the risk based on your own risk profile and make proper adjustments. Please just see these videos as a project and don't blindly follow my scripts. Losses are part of trading, be aware of the risk you want to take. Okay, so let's start with setting up the initial CSV file. As you see, I already created a list here containing the top 50 market cap coins on Binance, excluding stable coins. I will link this list in the video description. And first of all, we are just wrapping this list into a data frame. Therefore, we need pandas. And we're using the data frame function on this list. And we are storing that in a variable. Let's just call that position or pos frame. And first we want to just rename this column here and name that currency. Right, so we can just assign the columns, currently only one column, to this name here. And with that we are getting a data frame like this. Now we want to add two columns, one Boolean column which is containing if we are in a position or not. So we are taking a 0 if we are not in a position and a 1 if we are in a position. So we are setting up a column which is only containing zeros initially, right? So we can do that by taking position equals 0. And with that we have a position column only containing zeros here, right? And same we are doing for the quantity. Here we are storing the quantity. So if we bought, because we are buying with USDT, so we are investing, let's say 100 USDT in that coin. And then we are getting an order confirmation containing the quantity. And this quantity we want to store here, because when we are selling the asset, we want to sell the whole quantity we have bought, right? So we are just setting that equally to this one above. We are setting that to 0 as well initially. And with that we are getting our initial CSV file. So we just have to transform this data frame into a CSV file. And we can do that by just taking pos frame to CSV, naming that position check. And we are setting the index to false to avoid that we are having an additional column containing this integer index here, right? And if we're doing that, we could just read in this CSV file by using pandas read CSV function, providing the name, and then you will see you are ending up with a data frame like this. Okay, so let's move on building the actual bot. As you see, I already did some stuff here, so I'm running my Binance Keys notebook where I'm just storing my API key and my API secret. And I'm importing the client from the Python Binance library, and we need pandas for data handling. I'm instantiating the client here. Here I'm reading in the CSV file we've just created. So once again, this is a data frame containing a currency column containing 50 coins, initial positions which are of course 0, and initial quantities being 0 as well. Now we want to pull historical price data using the Binance API to calculate our both slow simple moving average and fast simple moving average, right? And I'm using a function which I was using in many previous videos, which are linked in the video description. I'm just quickly going over that with you together. So this function get hourly data is pulling K-line data or open, high, low, close data for a given symbol. So for example, Bitcoin USDT for a particular time frame or time interval, right? So we are taking the 1 hour time interval here, but you can also take 4 hours, 8 hours, 1 day, whatever you like. And this is just the look back period. So I'm going 75 hours back. Why 75 hours? Because my slow SMA is 75 time steps, right? So this is why I'm going 75 hours back here. Now this is just slicing the pulled data, so we only need the very first column containing the timestamp and the fourth column containing the close price. And here I'm just renaming those columns to time and close. As the close, or in general, when you are pulling data, as it is coming in string formatted values, I'm doing a typecast here to a floating value so we can do the simple moving average calculation. This is just transforming the Unix formatted timestamp into a human readable timestamp. So let's actually just call the function and you will understand what this is doing. So if we are calling this function on Bitcoin USDT, we are getting a data frame like this containing a time column with a timestamp and the close price for that timestamp. All right. And as you see, we have 75 rows because we are pulling data 75 hours back for a 1 hour time frame, right? Now next we want to do the technical indicator calculation or the simple moving average calculation. So let's just store that in a temporary variable here and create another function which we are calling apply technicals. And this function is taking a data frame and is adding 2 columns to this data frame. First, the fast simple moving average, which is a simple moving average on the close column. So we are taking a rolling window of 5 time steps and just take the mean out of that. And same with a 75 rolling window for the slow simple moving average. Okay, so if I would call this function on our temporary data frame, and print out the temporary data frame, you will see that I'm getting a fast SMA column here and a slow SMA column. And for the bot, we are just interested in the very last row of this data frame. And here we are checking, right? Is the fast SMA above the slow SMA? Then we are buying, or then we are staying in the position. And if it's vice versa, we are out of the position, or we are not even entering the position. So as we saw in the very beginning, in this case, the slow is above the fast, so we are not buying Bitcoin here, all right? Anyhow, now let's create a function which is changing our position frame, right? So if we bought an asset, we want to set the position frame to, so the position column in our position frame to 1. And we also want to provide the quantity which was being executed when we are buying the asset and write that into the position frame, okay? Therefore, we are creating a function which we are just calling changepos, change position. And this function is taking a currency or coin as an argument, an order which is containing the executed quantity, and it's also taking an argument which is if that is a buying order or a selling order. Okay, so if we have a buying order, so if buy is true, we want to assign the position value for a bought coin to 1. So we can use posFrame log, take a look at the currency column containing the coins, and if we have the currency being the provided currency for this function, so let's say Bitcoin USDT, we want to set the position to 1. So once again, what is this doing? If we are calling this function for Bitcoin USDT, for instance, having a buying order for Bitcoin, we are just setting the position value for the Bitcoin in the posFrame data frame to 1. And we also have to provide the quantity from the order, right? So this is what we're doing next. So I can just copy paste this stuff here and take a look at the quantity column now and take the order and take the executed quantity. And we have to do, as this is a string value, we have to do a typecast to a floating value here, okay? So again, when we have a buying order coming in for a particular symbol, we are both setting the position value to 1, and we are also providing the quantity value, right? So again, if we're taking a look at the posFrame here, let's say we have a buying order coming in, we are getting a 1 here, and we are getting the executed quantity written in here, okay? Now, what happens if we are getting a selling order? So if we are saying the buy to false here, then we want to change the position to 0 because we have sold the asset and we are not in the position for this coin anymore, right? So we are just taking the same syntax here, but set that to 0. And as we have sold our bought quantity, we also want to set the quantity to 0 here. So we are just setting the quantity to 0. Okay, and this is our function again, which is making the necessary changes to our position data frame. All right. Okay, so let's move on to building the actual trading logic. Therefore, we are creating a function trader, which is taking a certain investment amount as an argument. This investment amount is in USDT or US dollar theta. Important to note here, this is just the investment amount which is being distributed to one coin. So we are trading as long as you have enough USDT in your wallet, right? This is just, again, the investment amount per coin. And now we are checking the selling conditions first. And we only have to check for those coins where we are currently in a position. Of course, initially we are not in any position at all, but imagine you are in a position, you want to check the selling conditions first. So we are looping over the pos frame, but for only those coins where we are in a position. So we are looping for coin in pos frame position is 1, and then we're taking the currency column, right? And when we are in a position, we want to pull historical price data to calculate the fast and slow simple moving average for that coin to check if the selling condition is fulfilled. So we are pulling, I'm just storing that in a variable df for data frame, and call the get hourly data function, which is pulling historical prices for a particular coin. Then we are doing the technical indicator or simple moving average calculation by calling the apply technicals function on that pulled data. And we are just screening for the last row, right? We can do that by using df-ilog of the very last row. Now the check is if the last row's slow SMA is above the last row's fast SMA, then we want to sell, right? So if last row slow SMA is above last row fast SMA, we want to sell. So I'm copy pasting the selling syntax from my other screen here. So we are creating an order here on that given coin where we are in a position. Then we are placing a selling order, a market order, and now we don't know which quantity yet, right? And we are just taking the quantity from the pos frame. How this quantity is being filled, we have covered here, right? We are taking a buying order and then just take the executed quantity. So we have a quantity value in the quantity column. So we are just providing the quantity value from the pos frame here as the quantity of this order, right? So we are taking quantity and screen for the coin, pos frame currency coin, and then we're checking for the quantity value. Quantity values indexing for 0. So if we have, let's say, a quantity of 0.02, so if we bought 0.02, let's say ETH, this would be the quantity here in the pos frame. All right. And once we have placed that order, we want to call this changepos function, right? Because when, imagine we are in a position, then this value would be 1 and this quantity would be quantity X. But if we have placed a selling order, we want to set the position to 0 and the quantity to 0, right? So we are just calling the changepos function and set the buy argument to false. So this one here. So we want to trigger this statement to reset the values for that currency in the pos frame. So we are taking changepos, provide the coin, the order, and set buy to false. Okay, and in the end we want to print the selling order. That's it for the selling condition. Once we've done the selling condition check, we want to do the buying condition check. And we only have to do that check for those coins where we are not in a position right now, right? So similar logic as above here. We are checking for those where we are not in a position, so we have a position value of 0. And again, pulling data, so we can basically just copy paste here. right? So pulling historical data for those, making the technical indicator or simple average calculation, and pull the last row. And now we are doing the same thing for the buying condition. We are just checking when the fast SMA is above, the slow SMA. And then we want to buy, right? And we can basically just copy paste the syntax here and set the site to buy, type market, and now, very important, we are setting the quote order quantity, which is US dollar Tether. So we are buying in US dollar Tether to our investment, which is 100. So we are buying worth of 100 US dollar, we are buying a certain coin. Okay. Once we've done that, we want to print out the order, and then, very important, we are calling the changepos function again, provide the coin, the order, set the buy to true. And now what will happen? This order, let's scroll back again, will have an executed quantity, and this quantity value is being filled into the pos frame. So if the selling condition is fulfilled, we know exactly how much we have to sell. Pretty nice, right? So we have our function call here, changepos. And yeah, I mean, we could optionally print the feedback here. So for example, condition, or let's say buying condition for this coin is not fulfilled. All right, and that's basically it for the trading logic. So let's zoom a bit out that I can show you the whole construct here. Okay, so to make this bot run, it would make sense to just call this function in an infinite loop here, right? You can actually do that, but you will run into an error. I'm just showing you what I'm talking about. So if we are calling that in an infinite loop, with some luck, we are buying an asset. So it's probable because we are considering 50 assets. So let's wait a second here. So as you see, we're looping over all coins, and there we have the buying condition for the first order. And I've like not even 200 US dollar Tether in my wallet. So the next buy signal will run into an error. And this is a problem. So you see it here, right? So Binance API exception. And then we have not enough funds. And this is a problem because when this loop is not running anymore, it is also not checking the selling conditions, right? So we would need to work with a try except statement here. But before we are doing that, I want to quickly show you how the pos frame is looking like when a buying order is floating in, right? So if I'm taking the look at the pos frame now, you will see that for TRX, I have a position of 1 here and the quantity, and this quantity is the quantity which I'm selling when my selling order is being triggered. Anyhow, let's fix this. So we are taking a while loop and take a try statement. And if we have an exception, we want to continue the loop. So if we're executing that again, the loop is running and we are fine. Now, 1 or 2 sentences to deploying that. So you could, for instance, run this script as a no-hop task in Google Cloud. I have videos on that. I will link that in the video description. So you can run that over a longer time period if you're interested in that. And yeah, that's already it for this video. So let me know what you think about this in the comments below. And thank you very much for watching. I'm looking forward to seeing the upcoming videos. Bye bye.